I just want to update my conference championship predictions because even though I made them in the preseason, there are no rules that say you can't change them on the fly. So I'm changing them on the fly, or am I? Let's take a look. So let's start in the SEC. Jesse, back in August when we did our final preseason predictions, I believe I had Texas versus Alabama in the SEC championship game. And that was the moment where we basically had to barricade the doors because Georgia was the preseason favorite to win the conference. And everyone called us crazy and a Georgia hater, dog hater, DAWG. And I said, no, it's not that. I just think they've got a little tougher path. And in a world where I don't think there's a big gap between them and number 2, 3, 4 in the SEC, that may make a difference. Well, now we're looking, and that's not crazy at all. It's not a crazy concept at all that Georgia's lost once already. Maybe they'll lose again. I think they will lose at least one more. And I don't think they'll be in Atlanta. Didn't think so in the regular season or in the preseason. I still don't think so. So I have not changed my prediction at all. Bama's the current favorite to win the SEC, followed by Texas, and then Tennessee and Georgia are tied for third. I'm same as I was in the preseason on the matchup. Give me Texas versus Bama, and I am the same as I was in the preseason on the outcome. I'd still take Texas over Alabama. I think that I have removed Ole Miss from this equation. I don't think they'll factor into the conference championship race. I don't think Missouri will factor into the conference championship race. So that's a 4-team race to me right now. Bama, Texas, Tennessee, Georgia, could see any of them winning it. I think it's horns and tide, and I will still take Texas because I see no reason to come off of that yet. Next up, Big 12, America's College Football Conference. Initially, I made a mistake. Not putting Iowa State in there. No, I put them in there. That wasn't the mistake. The mistake was I believed I hooked my cart to the wrong horse, and that was Oklahoma State. And I apologize. Look, I'm having trouble even looking the camera in the eye. This is tough. Breaking news tonight, Oklahoma State's not going to be in the Big 12 championship game. Whomst is, though. So right now, the new odds are Iowa State is favored to win the thing. Kansas State's right there behind them. Utah third. Then there's a little drop-off. Arizona fourth, even though they just they just beat Utah. Colorado is in this. Brigham Young is in this. Texas Tech is in it. UCF is in it. West Virginia is in it. TCU is in it. I am of the opinion we still go 10 deep in teams that it wouldn't be insane to see win this. Some of them are going to remove themselves from the equation, obviously, but look at the drop-off. If you're listening on podcast, you get all the way down to TCU, 10th in the odds right now, and then the drop-off is huge to Cincinnati and Oklahoma State and Arizona State. So there is still about a 10-team field here that conceivably could do this. Oklahoma State was fourth in the odds to start the year. They already got 2 losses. Kansas State and Utah were the favorites. Both of them already have a loss. My Iowa State Cyclones are undefeated. So I was Oklahoma State over Iowa State. That's where I was in the preseason. I'm going to keep Iowa State there, and I'm going to replace them with Utah. I'm going to replace Oklahoma State with Utah. So as of this moment, I believe enough in the Utes. Coming off a loss, so I'm not riding any bandwagon here. I believe Kyle Whittingham's team will find a way to get themselves to the Big 12 championship game and lose to Iowa State, who I should have picked to win the thing to begin with, but I didn't want claims of homerism. I run from those claims. Iowa State, your Big 12 champ and top 4 seed in the playoffs, as they should be. All would be right with the world at that point. Next up, ACC. Initially, we may have had it right halfway. I had Miami beating Florida State. Yes, that's why I say halfway right. In the preseason, Florida State was favored to win the conference. Clemson was second. Miami was third. That does not look the same anymore. Florida State does not exist in the odds right now. We looked just for fun today. I mean, Georgia Tech is still on the board. North Carolina, Syracuse is still on the board. Florida State's not even on the board. They have ceased to exist as far as FanDuel is concerned when it comes to the ACC championship picture. Now, this is not a 2-team race. Everyone's talking about Miami, Clemson right now. Louisville and SMU are still very, very much in this. They play each other this weekend, and especially if Louisville wins that, you will have a 3-team race. And Louisville does play both Miami and Clemson at some point this year. So I do think it eventually becomes a 3-team race. I do think Louisville will take care of business this weekend. but remains to be seen on that. I had Miami over Florida State. I will take now Miami versus Clemson in the conference title game. I'll stick with my champ. I'll still take Miami over Clemson. And I think right now, running it through the model, if we played that game right now, the model would have Miami minus 3.75 points, -4, somewhere around there. So it would be a very tight line, but we would have Miami favored. Next up, let's go to the Big Ten. This is where I think the least amount has changed. In the preseason, it was Ohio State, Oregon favored. In the preseason, it was Ohio State over Oregon as my prediction. And really, the only big change is USC has looked a lot better than folks thought they would. Penn State's still a total wild card here. They go to Southern Cal in a couple of weeks. They host Ohio State a couple of more weeks down the road. If they split those, they could be in the conference title game. But outside of that, I've got no reason to come off of anything here. I'm taking Ohio State against Oregon in the conference title game. They play each other next week in Eugene, by the way. So we don't have to wait until then. Round 1, maybe, is next week in the Pacific Northwest. Round 2, theoretically, would be in Indianapolis in December. So give me Ohio State over Oregon as the same prediction. Haven't changed anything there. So to recap, I'm taking Texas over Alabama as my SEC pick right now. Ohio State over Oregon as my Big Ten pick. Those have not changed. I got Iowa State over Utah in the Big 12. That has changed. And Miami, same ACC champ, but I've got them taking it over Clemson instead of Florida State. Somehow, some way, I don't think Florida State's finding a way in.